Alright, it's on. Um, my name is Katie Andrews. And I think you're supposed to say your name too.
Okay, my name is Amy Blaylock.
Alright. Um, so I guess we'll talk about the first video. And the first question says, what principles of effective speaking did you see in his speech? Um, this was the guy that kind of talked about like same-sex marriage and the Bible and God and stuff. Um, Something I liked about his speech is that at the end he had a call for action and like standing up for what you believe in and voting the way he the way he's defending, so against same-sex marriage. Um, did you have anything you liked about his speech?
Yeah, we're talking about the first video with the guy that was talking about religion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and the first question was, I didn't really think there was anything strong about his speech at all. When I was answering that question, I felt like he totally kicked himself in the foot. Like people were getting up and leaving, and
Yeah.
I think that it had to do with the fact that he was using religion, which is really sad. Like, I
Mm,
mean, if we were to have that same um, argument back in the time when when we were like founding the Constitution, everyone would have listened.
yeah.
Everyone would have taken it really seriously. But because we're in a day where they won't even let us mention God, I feel like it really made it so that he didn't even have an argument.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of felt the same way too. I was like, people kind of tune out when you start talking about that kind of thing when it comes to same-sex marriage and those type of things. Yeah, that's why really the only thing I thought that was good about it was like at the end when he's just like, vote this way and like just the call to action thing. So, but yeah, I totally agree. I think a lot of people like probably stopped listening really fast because he didn't have, yeah, people just don't look at things that way as much as they used to. So,
Yeah, and I felt like it was hard because he didn't have any facts or science to back it up, and I feel like
mhm.
it's a sign. I feel like the audience is looking for science,
Yeah,
when in reality it is an argument based on religious freedom. I mean, it's the thing stopping it from happening. The only opposition it has is religious freedom. Like, they can't really tell people who don't believe in gay marriage, if they're going to follow the Constitution, that they have to perform a gay marriage
yeah,
ceremony. I mean, that's what they're saying. That's the problem, and that's where it's running into, is freedom of religion versus um, oppression of forcing everyone to accept something that's against their religious beliefs. Anyone who does have religious beliefs that way. So
yeah,
I think that that's because that's what it is. It seems so jumbled, the whole thing. Like,
yeah,
I don't understand. I think Satan has done a really good job of messing the whole thing so much that
yeah. Me too.
you can't even use religion. And
Yeah,
I feel like his argument wasn't strong at all. So then my answer is, there was no strength to his argument.
yeah, yep. The next question just asks, what is the basis or premise for his stance? And we kind of talked about it. It's just religion and God. And um, so, next question: if you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after listening to his speech? I mean, yeah. Well, just because of what I believe, I would agree with him. But if I wasn't like religious or anything and I was on the fence about it, I don't think it would convince me very much. So.
If I wasn't religious, it would just make me mad. That
Yeah.
it would make me feel like he was imposing his religious beliefs on everyone.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think it felt so forceful. I think it felt like he was taking away everyone's religious freedom in a way.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Like he was trying to, like you said, like he was trying to force us to believe what he believes, kind of thing. And that's not how religion works. You can't force people to believe things. They have to figure it out. So,
Yeah.
but um, we kind of already answered this question too. It says, what was less effective about his speech? But we kind of talked about that already.
Yeah, we did.
So,
Or no, are we talking about both speeches or just his speech?
just his speech, and then we're gonna talk about the next one.
Okay.
So, for the next speech, it's the same question. So, what principles of effective speaking did you hear in his speech?
Well, I feel like the first principle was he started with a story about himself, the self
Yeah,
narrative. Then he went to the us narrative,
yeah,
call of action.
yeah.
I feel like because he had experience and he was able to share that self narrative, that was huge.
Mhm. He
That
like
was very
told us, yeah, he told us his story, and it made people more interested in what he felt about the same-sex marriage thing. So, yeah, I thought he did a really good job, and it sounded like he just knew exactly what he was trying to say. He didn't have long pauses. He just went through it and said it like it is. Well, to him, and just overall, he did really good. Not that he, not that he changed my mind, but it was a really good speech.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Um, what was the basis or the premise for his stance? Um, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go.
My kid was crying and I was trying to help my husband take care
Oh.
of him.
Oh.
Okay. Um, sorry, can you ask that question again?
Yeah.
Premise.
What was the basis or the premise for his stance?
I feel like the basis of his premise was his personal experience.
Yeah.
I feel like the fact that he survived and became a productive citizen um, was really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, and that he turned out just like what he said, like I turned out just like other kids who were raised by a mother and father type of guy, and he seems really successful, and just yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, if you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after listening to his speech?
I would not be on the fence. I would be like, okay, let's do this. Let's agree. I mean, if I didn't understand all the implications that I understand and
Yeah,
all the fact that it's wrong, that it's just not good. But as a basic citizen of the country who doesn't isn't educated in that way, I'd agree with him.
yeah, I think I would too. He just he made it sound simple and clear, and what we should do, and so yeah, I think so too. I think if I was on the fence and didn't have, yeah, same thing as you said. So, um, what was less effective about his speech? I
He
don't
didn't
know.
bring an opposing view.
That's true. That's true. He didn't address that. Yeah. That's probably it. The only thing I could think of. I really thought his speech was good, so.
I did too.
Alright. So, an article by Dennis Prager. The first question is, what principles of effective writing did you see in his article? I felt like he looked at both sides and addressed what the opposite people think about same-sex marriage and what the proponents think about same-sex marriage. He did a really good job at addressing both sides, I think.
I feel like that too. I feel like that was one of his strong points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He started with that, and then he, like, after addressing both sides, he shared his ideas and thoughts about what he thought and how it affects society in a negative way. Okay, next question. What was the basis or the premise for his stance?
I'm pulling up my journal right now so I can
Yeah.
read from what I answered originally. Um, I think he did a good job at dispelling some myths about gender and civil rights being comparable.
Yeah.
And that was something that I was glad to read and to understand, because when somebody makes the opposing argument that about gay marriage being okay, it's hard to see their myths dispelled, especially if you don't do your research about it. So I feel like he
Yeah.
did a really good job dispelling those myths, and that was a great premise for his stance.
Yeah.
But I also felt like his stance was that he supported traditional marriage.
Yeah.
In the end, that was kind of what the whole article was about.
Yeah. I thought so too. And I guess also something that he kind of did with his article is he went back to and he talked about all the great thinkers, or what did he call it? Um,
I don't remember what he called it.
um, anyways, but you know what I'm talking about. Like he went back
Yeah.
and talked about all those great thinkers and how they never addressed this kind of issue. They maybe talked about other kinds of things, but it was never a question in their mind that there would be same-sex marriage kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that was.
the next question, if you were on the fence when it comes to same-sex marriage, how would you feel after reading this article?
I feel like he did such a good job at showing how it would really harm society,
Mm-hmm.
that I wouldn't want to legalize it because I
Yeah.
would see its effects. I feel like a lot of times those effects are just ignored
Yeah.
or yelled loud. Something else is yelled louder over them when they are brought up. But I feel like he did a really good job of expounding on and explaining and putting in clear terms how it would harm society.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought so too, and I think if I was on the fence, yeah, I'd feel like he did a really good job at addressing both the sides, and he'd probably convince me to not vote for same-sex marriage.
So here's a question then.
Mhm.
Think he would convince somebody who, like that guy who gave a talk about it in the second speech? Do you think he would convince somebody like that?
Yeah. That's a good question. I don't, just because of how strongly that guy felt and because he was raised by a same-sex couple, I think it would be hard to convince him. I don't know that he would get convinced because he grew up to be a great guy in society and it didn't affect him in a negative way type of thing. So he'd probably be like, well, that didn't happen to me. It doesn't seem like society's bad because of me or anything like that. I don't know.
Yeah, and so it talks about. I thought that was interesting too because it talked about how it didn't affect him in his functioning in society,
Yeah.
but it didn't address any other. He didn't address any other issues. Like I think that when you take the like for example the Planned Parenthood sexual rights that they feel like everybody has,
Mhm.
you can't even use that as an argument because they feel like those are right. So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is how many different ways could it have affected him that he doesn't even know because he's
Yeah.
so messed up and believes things like Planned Parenthood, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I can see why I feel like no matter how loud truth screams, if you've got Satan shouting out lies, I mean, okay, so if you have an argument between somebody who can just lie no matter what and somebody who's always telling the truth, it's really hard for the person telling the truth to win.
Yeah. That's true. That is.
So
Hmm.
I agree with you. I was just wondering. I don't think you could ever convince him or many of the others because their premise is based on lies, not truth. I mean, right down to the fact that the people feel they're born that way.
Yeah.
I mean, everything that his family is built on is not truth.
Yeah.
So he could
It's true.
always find a way out of it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true.
I don't think Dennis Prager would convince him.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah, that's a really good point. Hmm. I never thought about that.
I don't know why I thought about that.
Well, that's a good thought. Let's see. Oh, the next question is what was less effective about his article? Okay.
I think the fact that he wouldn't convince those people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the
That's,
fact that he was telling the truth. Isn't that terrible?
yeah, that is kind of sad. People can't be convinced by the truth. Yeah. I guess it just goes back to the thing where they just have to, they either continue what they believe or they somehow figure it out on their own that what they believed is wrong, kind of thing, I guess.
But it's so interesting because society is being torn down at such the basic level of the fact that we can't even call mothers mothers and fathers fathers. I mean, that's like
I know.
thousands and thousands. That's like all of the history of the earth.
Yeah,
And now we can't. I can't even hold that title on a legal. If I lived in France, I couldn't even hold that title on a legal document.
I know.
So,
That's like, it's absurd.
I'm sorry. What was the question we're trying to answer?
Oh, what was less effective about his article? But
Yeah. So,
just,
I mean, when society is torn that far down, it is really hard to be effective.
yeah, it is.
Oh, but I did think of maybe one type of argument that might help that he could maybe have used.
Uh-huh.
And that's the argument that may have made his argument stronger. And that's the argument of addiction and the fact that, like, I don't know, the fact that your brain, like, if everyone really has these rights that are these sexual rights that are the foundation to gay and lesbian marriage, right? If they're inalienable rights to people,
Mhm.
then let's just maybe somebody could address the fact, and I think this would have made his argument stronger, but the fact that it releases dopamine. So every time these people are exercising their sexual freedom or whatever it's called, they're getting more and more addicted to it. And I mean, I'm sure that if there was a study done, it could be compared to like pornography or and
Mhm.
the problem is that like you go into prisons and you interview these people and a lot of them started with pornography addictions.
Yeah.
And it just got so bad they just needed more and more and started like murdering or whatever. So I'm just saying, maybe something like that could have been brought up. Like,
Yeah.
okay, so let's base this on just Planned Parenthood. Everybody has this freedom to do this, but then what is the premise? But then you think, and then you talk about the AIDS argument.
Yeah.
I mean, let's talk about health and safety because that's kind of scary.
Yeah, that's true. When I study, I think it was for another class. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
was for this one. I don't know about AIDS, and I think they said it was higher with same gender couples. They're more likely to get it or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was in this class too. We read something
Was
about
it?
how, or in that video. Was it this class?
Oh, okay. Oh, maybe
Yeah,
it
the AIDS
was.
video, where they said that in America the only threat to AIDS is same gender, like male gay men.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I can't remember if it was this class.
I think it was this class, the
Yeah.
gay men thing. The problem
Uh-huh.
is if they're now going to be teaching, to these kids that they should just go around having sex with everybody,
Yeah.
males or females or whoever, then don't isn't anybody concerned that the AIDS epidemic is going to spread more?
I know, that's what I don't get. It's like they're supporting AIDS or something. I don't know. It's
It's like
weird.
they're ignoring it, and I think that's part of the lie.
Yeah.
But see, I think that Dennis Prager's argument may have started to convince this dude
Yeah.
if he could have proven the link between prison and pornography to, sexual freedom
Yeah.
and AIDS.
Well, yeah. Well, when you were talking about the whole addiction thing, it kind of um I was kind of thinking about how, like maybe 100 years ago, same gender attraction in couples were so rare that it was a lot. I don't know. People looked at it like probably like taboo or something. But and when you first start a drug, it's like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. But then once you start to get used to it or used to the idea, then people like don't think it's as big of a deal and kind of thing. Same with drugs, but
Well,
yeah.
that gave me three thoughts. First of all, so the dope in your brain, I learned this from a video, I guess, but in your brain, dopamine is released when you eat, and it's 100% dopamine released when you eat.
Hmm.
Um, Anything related to sex is like a 600% dopamine release,
Wow.
and meth is 2,000% dopamine release.
Oh my gosh.
So, um, so the thing that I find interesting is our society is going around trying to break these addictions to food by enforcing childhood, schools to eat healthy and having this big push for healthy eating and then they're going to open up the floodgates of sexual addiction,
Yeah.
which is
Mm.
way stronger brain functioning.
Yeah.
And when you said that it gets to be accepted, I just think, okay, well, I think the media has played a huge role in that. I mean, from the time we've had television, it just always gets a little bit more risky for the last 50 years. I think that's been Satan's tool to just slowly get everybody in just one level deeper.
Mhm.
Just accepting one little thing, seeing it enough on TV. I mean, you can't even watch TV without seeing something that is going to hurt your spirit.
It's true. Even commercials. It's really annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I thought about that, and then the last thing I thought about, was Sodom and Gomorrah, and
Mhm.
like the times when the Lord has destroyed a people. My husband was talking to me about this because I was so like depressed about all the stuff I was learning, and he's like, well, it seems like the Lord just waits and waits and waits and waits until the people are so wicked. He said, sometimes in the Bible when he's destroyed a place, it's because if you were to walk into the city, you would just have no freedom or no rights, and you'd probably just get totally mutilated on the streets.
Yeah.
you know? And
Hmm.
I wonder if that's how it's got to be, because there's got to be not one righteous person. I mean,
Yeah.
at least that's how it was
Right.
in the Bible, but that's another thought. So, yeah, it's going downhill, but I guess it's got to.
Yeah.
In the meantime, hope we can make a difference.
I know. Yeah, it's getting pretty bad. It's only gonna get worse.
It is, and just to even think like 10 years ago. I mean, 10 years ago was when Bush was doing
Yeah.
the marriage project, the national marriage project. I mean, 10 years ago, our nation was putting money into a national marriage project for
Yeah.
straight marriage.
That's so crazy.
Now we're so far from that. In our paper that we're writing this week,
Mhm.
um, Hillary, we cited where Hillary Clinton talks about how the government is putting $3 million into supporting helping gay and lesbians to have their equal rights, and that the only opposition, she says this, is cultural beliefs and the freedom of religion.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's what's under attack, and I think that's why so many, when this article says you can be good and
You,
vote against gay marriage,
mhm. Yeah.
I think it's an attack on religious freedom.
Yeah. Totally is. I mean, it's it's really sad because I mean, just because what I've seen in the news, like there was some guy who said he didn't want blacks to come to his baseball games or something like that, which obviously like isn't is like not good and wrong, but he got in so much trouble for expressing what he believed, I guess, or how he felt. And it's just crazy that people like freak out and hate you for something you believe in or whatever. It's sad. You can't believe without being hated or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I wish that we knew how to disagree better.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they used to disagree way better in Abraham Lincoln's time. They were so much more graceful.
Yeah.
I think it goes back to the media. Like, how often do you see anyone disagree with any amount of grace in the media?
Yeah. It's true.
And so that's what people watch. And I feel like it's so powerful in your mind. Now you've got this image of how to respond and how to act.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you don't have an image of anything else unless you've got a family showing you the way to go.
Yeah. It's true. It's a really good point.
Do
Hmm.
we have to do this for an hour without our whole group here? I can't remember if this class was long.
Well, it says 50 to 60 minutes, but I don't know. I think we've done pretty good for just the two of us, so I can say we can wrap it up. I don't think she'll dock us for it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, and next week, if I'm ever not a Google Hangout, just call me, like right off the bat. If it's like the first minute, just call me. I should be way more on top of it after this surgery, but just call me right off
Well,
the shoot.
you just had a baby, so I don't blame you for being tired and exhausted and spacey, so. I was there. I've been there, so I know what
Well,
it's like.
that's why I gave you my phone number. I thought, this is just my backup plan.
Yeah, that's
So
good.
I'm glad you called me.
Good. Well, sweet. Um, there were two more questions, but
Oh, there are?
oh, yeah, we kind of talked about one was what was less effective about his article, and we kind of talked about that already. And the last one was what questions do you still have? Uh, I don't know. I
Which
think,
we talked about.
yeah, we kind of already talked about that
We
too.
did.
So,
We had some questions that we already talked about.
yeah, we did. So, um, so one of us can summarize what we talked about. Would you like to do that?
Sure. Do I summarize it on the video or do I summarize it in on the
Yeah.
time that we train? On the video?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, to summarize, we had a discussion about how we felt, what strong points we felt were in the speech about religion that was in defense of traditional marriage, and what we felt were the weak points. And we didn't feel like there was any strong points. We felt like he shot himself in the foot using religion as
Mhm.
a basis for his argument. Um, you felt like the call to action was good at the end of his thing, which was more than I could say. Then the next argument we felt like was a lot stronger, and we both felt like if we didn't have the religious beliefs that we do, that he would have swayed us off the fence to the side of gay and lesbian marriage being okay. Um, and that we both thought that was really to his advantage that he had the personal experience and he was able to use that as a self narrative and bring everybody else on board as the us narrative, as we all felt emotional about our families as we listened to him and his family, especially when he pulled the card about multiple sclerosis. That was really good, but we didn't talk about
Mhm.
that part. I'm sorry, summarizing. Then the last part was when we talked about Dennis Prager's article and how we really liked what parts we really appreciated about his article and what parts we thought were not so good. Uh, we felt like he I can't remember what parts we thought weren't good specifically, what parts we thought were good, but we did discuss that. And then we went off on our own a little bit about what we felt his article would take to convince someone like the boy who was raised by the lesbian couple.
Great. All right. Um, I'm gonna stop the broadcast. I don't know if it'll stop the hangout, but if it does, then
Okay.
we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. See ya.